So you want to make a sourdough pizza crust. You're going to need a couple of things. A sourdough starter to begin with, and a really fantastic recipe, which is what I've got for you here today. So let's get started. Roll the intro. Hey everyone, welcome back to Eat the World. I'm Chef Alex Lazik. You know, I've traveled the world as a chef. I've worked for the royal family. I've also owned my own bakery. I love baking and working with dough, especially sourdough. Sourdough is a whole other beast and has its own challenges. Today we're making sourdough pizza. Now a few of you have been asking me for a recipe for this, and we're going to do this today. It's not a complicated process. It's actually pretty simple. But there's a couple of steps that you need to follow that are kind of important. When you're working with sourdough, you're working with an organic living creature. It's not just here's some dry powder and then off you go. There's so many variables here. There's the temperature, there's the time, there's the strength of your starter. When did you feed it last? Well, we're going to address some of those things. So I'm going to make sure that you're going to get as good a pizza as possible once you've done making this recipe. But there's always going to be some variables with sourdough. I know as a professional baker and chef, when I'm baking sourdough bread, you've got to have that feel. You can't go to a strict timeline because things happen and you've got to adapt to it because of the humidity, because of the temperature, because of the strength of your starter. All those things play a big important role in making our beautiful dough, which makes our beautiful bread and makes our beautiful pizza. So I'm pretty excited about today, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun making our pizzas. So, before we get started though, please, if you could, like, subscribe, do all those wonderful things, and please, if you could, check out my Patreon account. I'll put the link below. I would really, really appreciate it. A couple of dollars would make a big difference for me. I put a lot of effort into coming up with these amazing recipes for you guys and trying to give you a foolproof kind of process to make sure that this works out for you all the time. Now, I think so far we've had some great success, so I'm going to keep going, especially with our pizza series that we're doing. I've got a bunch of other new videos on the way as well, and a couple of that are pretty exciting. So let's get started. Okay, so you're going to need a sourdough starter. If you don't have one, I'll link a video below. It will take up to 10 days to get one nice and active to use. This is my sourdough starter. I fed it about 4 to 5 hours before I was going to use it. And you can see it's nice and bubbly, it's doubled in size and has had a bit of a dome on top. This is probably close to being at peak activity. When it's at this stage, that is when you want to start using it for recipe ideally. I recommend starting this whole process around 8 or 9 a.m. with a nice ripe starter. Unfortunately, you can't take shortcuts for a good sourdough with the amazing results that we're going to get. I always make 1 kilogram batches of dough because that never goes to waste, but you can easily scale this down. So first step, we're going to make our levain to get our dough started. This is the sourdough version of a poolish basically. So here I have 100 grams of bread flour, 100 mils of 20 to 25 degree Celsius water, and we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of our starter and mix thoroughly. Some people add this starter to the water, but I don't think it makes all that difference, so just add it all to the bowl and mix it all together thoroughly. Once it's mixed, we're going to put this in a container and mark its height with a rubber band and wait for it to double. You're best keeping this somewhere warm, 20 to 24 degrees Celsius or 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't be tempted to put this anywhere warmer than that. Sourdough culture isn't as robust as commercial yeast, and doing so will be counterproductive. Next, let's get our main dough ready. We're going to start with 100 grams of spelt flour. I like using spelt flour as it has a lot of nutrition for sourdough culture and will give our dough an added boost. Then we're going to add our strong double O flour, one designed for high heat. We'll be cooking this pizza in a hot oven to get the best oven spring or puff possible, and having a flour that can cope with that is essential. Now that we have our flour weighed, we're going to add it to our mixing bowl to autolyse our dough. We're going to be adding our water to the flour and mixing it and letting it rest for 20 minutes, or up to 3 hours. This step will really assist in creating a gluten structure that we need for the best results. Add 750 mils of really warm water. This is going to be a very high hydration dough and can get quite sticky. If you're a beginner, you might want to start with 650 mils of water, but the higher hydration will give you a better result. It's often better to add your water first. I didn't do this in this case, but you can often get unmixed flour at the bottom if you do it this way. So make sure you get a spatula out, scraping the bottom mid-mix. Once it's mixed, cover and let it rest until your levain is ready.
3 hours later.
So here's our Oddily's dough, and you can see the structure in it already. We're going to go ahead and add 20 grams of sea salt at this stage and let it mix through. Next you can see that our levain has nicely risen and is very active and at least doubled. Then we can go ahead and combine this with the rest of our dough. You can of course do all of this by hand, but quite honestly using a mixer gives you a better result. Keep mixing it until it all looks uniform and well combined and smooth, and the dough has a nice smooth texture. Now if you're new to sourdough and feeling a little bit overwhelmed, please don't. I got you, and we're going to get through this and get it done together. Okay, so now we have a big sticky mess of dough. Don't worry, this is going to come together nicely. The key to working with sticky dough like this is water. So wet your work surface lightly and have a little jug nearby with water to dip your hands in. Once you're ready, we're going to perform a few slap and folds as I'm doing to start building some structure. Basically, you want to pick up the dough, smack its bum on the counter, and then fold it over. Repeat this a bunch of times, and then suddenly we've built some structure in the dough, and it's gone from being a sticky mess to a nicely structured dough. This is one of my favorite parts about working with a high hydration dough, how just a few maneuvers can get you from a sloppy mess to a nicely shaped dough. Now we're going to let this rest for about 15 minutes and then do another set of slap and folds. The dough will continue to go soft and sticky, but we will keep building structure, trust me. Then place your dough in a bowl and let it double in size. You can't rush this part, it can take 4 to 5 hours.
3 hours later.
When you're just about there, again making sure that you're using wet hands and tools, divide your dough up into the desired size, and we are going to make some dough balls. To do this again, we are going to perform some small slap and folds on our divided dough balls. Little by little, adding more and more structure, that's the process. Once that's done, you can use your bench scraper like I am to further tighten the surface tension on top of the dough. Now if you haven't done this before, you can do this, it's not too hard, it just takes a little bit of practice. Once that's done, you can spread the dough balls evenly, giving them plenty of room, cover it well, and then put them in the fridge overnight. Now about 4 hours before you want to make your pizza, the balls can come out of the fridge. They look like pancakes, not balls. Don't worry about that at all. We're going to give the balls a final reshape, just like we did before, which will add even more structure. Some slap and folds, and tightening the surface tension with our scraper. Now at this stage, these are going to be our final dough balls. So just like a sourdough baguette or bread that is made in a bowl, these little plastic containers will hold our shape perfectly for our pizzas. Spray your brush with oil so they don't stick, and when we are ready, then cover and let rest until we are ready to bake. Now if you don't have plastic containers like this, don't worry, just use a mixing bowl or a soup bowl or something similar that'll hold this shape. In the meantime, you can get your pizza toppings ready. I've got some beautiful fresh bocconcini here, which is mozzarella. I like this one as it's nice and creamy and doesn't have too much moisture. Whatever you use, make sure you get some good quality toppings. We're going to the effort of making an amazing dough, so our pizza deserves to have some exceptional toppings. So we're going to tear a few of these into pieces. I'm making a classic Napolitana pizza and already have our sauce ready. So basically, once 3 or 4 hours has passed, it's pizza time. Now have a generous amount of flour on your work surface. Once that's there, tip out one of your dough balls onto the flour and cover both sides well. Now this is a very high hydration dough, so it isn't a throw in the air and spinning around kind of dough. Work gently with it to keep the shape you want. I want a nice bold cornicione or crust for hours, so gently press from the inside out, shaping it slowly as we go. Flip it over and continue the process. I'm sure you have your own way of stretching or opening your dough. Do what feels right for you. Also, I'll just add, if you get stuck with any steps, just message me, I'll reply personally. You can go through the chat function on my website. Those messages come straight to me, so I'm happy to help and actually really encourage you to give me a shout anytime you have any issues. That would make my day. Once we have our basic shape ready, give your peel a nice dusting. Transfer your dough onto the peel and let's give it its final shape. I like to build my pizzas on a peel. You can see I'm using a metal peel. A lot of people prefer a wooden peel. To me it doesn't really make a difference. I never have any problems launching my pizza. Next is time for the sauce. This is my all-purpose sauce because I love it. But I also have a Napolitana sauce on my website, and I'll also link that below if you'd prefer that. Now let's give this a nice even spread of sauce, and then carefully place our cheese on the pizza, making sure that we have not too much, not too little, and well spread out. Next I have some of this fabulous chili powder my mum made from her garden this summer. I just felt like some extra heat today, so I'm going to have a few sprinkles of this. It has such a wonderful flavor. My mum grew the chilies, dried them, and then ground them up herself. It's wonderful. Next, a small drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, and then out we go to our pizza oven outside on the ocean. I can't think of a more beautiful setting to make pizza. Get your oven medium hot. I'm aiming for about 750 to 800 degrees Fahrenheit, but you can go hotter, but I think this temp will give us the puff that we want and allow for a more margin of error. Check every 30 seconds and make sure to turn it. I personally find that having your oven up really high is really good if you're on the ball and you've got no issues whatsoever, but it only takes a couple of seconds to ruin a pizza, so I aim on the side of being conservative with my oven temperature. But with this kind of pizza, it only takes a few minutes, and well, let's have a look at this. What an absolute stunner. Let's take it inside. Guys, so here is our beautiful sourdough pizza. I'm happy with the result. We've got a beautiful puffy crust. I guess the only thing really left is to dissect it and give it a taste and see what we think. So let's cut into this and see how it's turned out. Oh, but it smells absolutely fantastic. I love the little bits of chili. You can just get a hint of that from my mum's garden. Absolutely stunning. Let's have a look at this. Look at that structure. Look at that structure. Okay guys, sourdough pizza. Well, that was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's not that hard to make, but you just have to follow certain steps and you need to be aware and have a lot of feeling, which is a bit tricky. If you're a by the book, gotta follow everything line by line kind of person, this might be a bit more challenging because there's so many variables and it's all about feeling. We've got a very organic process happening. So anyways, I think we nailed it. I think this is absolutely stunning. The smell is incredible. I've used my all-purpose sauce, which I think I probably already mentioned, link below, or you can use a Napolitana sauce. Whatever you prefer, that's the key to this. But that's just absolutely stunning. Very, very happy with this result. Let's give it a try. Beautiful. So simple, but excellent quality flavors happening here. The dough is incredible. It has an absolutely wonderful flavor. It's nice and airy, and it's crunchy and light and fluffy, and very moist as well, with that high hydration. The cheese is really good quality, fresh basil, and it's cooked in the wood burning oven, so it's got so many depths of flavor. Such a simple concept, but reasonably complicated and different layers of flavor. Very stunning and very happy. Every time I make a pizza, I seem to think to myself, this is my new favorite. Well, this is my new favorite. I mean, I've spent a lot of time compiling these recipes and perfecting them. This is my new favorite sourdough pizza recipe. There's all different kinds of pizzas that you can make, and that's the beauty of pizza. It's not just one little thing. Some people have their own preference, but there's so many different variables and so many different things you can have. I'm gonna go enjoy this. I'm gonna go share with my colleagues, and that's it for today. Listen guys, please, if you could like, subscribe, and do all those wonderful things, I would really appreciate it as always. And again, if you could please check out my Patreon page. I'm gonna have a lot of extra content for my patrons. So please, if you can go and have a look, a mere couple of dollars would mean a huge difference to me, to maintaining the channel and developing new stuff. So please, that would be fantastic. Hope you've enjoyed this. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. That's bloody good.